Welcome to the Chicago Bears Podcast, a presentation of ESPN Chicago, Chicago's home for sports. Here's your host, Pat, the designer.
Bear down, Bears fans. Training camp week 2 is here. Lance Briggs in the building. Pat the designer back at it again. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. We got a ton to get to today, man. And I mean, it's real football now. So you could look at Lance's face. Look how excited he is.
I'm excited to see you without your hat. This is rare. It's a rare occasion.
You got to take a look at Friday's interview. You got to look at Friday's interview. My mom called me and was like, don't wear that hat no more. I was like, I thought it was a good hat. She's like, don't wear that hat no more. Nah, but I got the fresh cut. I had a barber. My barber shout out to Q Skipper out here, man. One time I put the hat on straight away after getting the cut, and he just looked at me and said, what are you doing? I was like, what you mean? He was like, take your hat off. I just cut your hair. So now I just don't wear it a week after out of fear a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, if I was your barber, I was like, why don't you just stand up and spit in my face right now?
That's pretty much what he said. He was like,
yeah.
I mean, I never thought about it like it was a work of art. But, man, we'll get into so much coming into this, man. Let's start this thing off the right way, man. First off, Lance, how you doing, man? Are you excited that we finally got some good football to talk about?
I am. Football season's here. It's my favorite season of the year. I love Chicago in September. It's my favorite month. For a lot of people, it was warm. I remember my rookie year getting there in September. By the end of September, I had on a beanie and a mask, and everybody laughed on the football team. They said, "You're not ready for this."
Hey man, I told Roshan when he came on the pod, I said, buy your coat in Chicago, bro. Don't buy your coat somewhere else and think it's gonna work here. You gotta buy your coat. Now, if you go to Buffalo and buy it and come back, you'll be good. You gotta buy your coat in a cold weather climate. You come from Arizona with a coat, you're gonna freeze. They don't have out there.
Listen. Growing up in Sacramento, man, I didn't understand why they had zippers that went so far up. I'm like, I never zipped my jacket up. What are you doing? Then, I live in Chicago. That first winter, that zipper can't go high enough. I'm like, this thing gotta get it up higher.
Well, let's jump into this before the government try to get you. It's because they know about the last topic. Don't worry about it anyway. But hey, no, still, I want to ask you this question from the player's perspective, because the Chicago Bears are still openly looking for a pass rusher. Ryan Poles has said this. Matt Eberflus has talked about this, and not to say that they're going to go all in no matter what, but they have said, for the right price, we're looking to add. My question mark is, from the player's perspective, as a guy in training camp who's working his butt off to try and make this team right, does this feel kind of like a slap in the face, or does it feel more like a vote of confidence in the aspect of, we believe in you guys enough to add a player to this team to try and go out and win as many games as possible?
Now, every player has to understand his situation. And with that being said, you also have to understand, listen, we didn't have a lot of production from our pass rush last year. Yeah. And in particular, our edge rushers. So what have we done to rectify that? And am I one of those guys that's supposed to do that, that's picked to do that? Whether I am or I'm not, it's still an opportunity, because you're here and you get to get reps. Okay, so before they find that name brand pass rusher, I have an opportunity to come out here and show that I can at least be in that rotation, or until they get that guy, I should be the guy that they can depend on. It's all about the opportunity. It's perspective. Don't look at it as man, they want a new pass rusher. I'm a pass rusher, so I'm not good enough. Yeah. No, it's an opportunity because you get reps.
Yeah, and you guys had a similar situation, maybe not the same style, but right when you guys had the opportunity to go get Julius Peppers, right? How was that perceived in that locker room on a defense that, is still a pretty good defense, and now we're going out to add Julius Peppers to it? Was that a we don't need that guy, but we'll take him, or was that a no, please bring Julius because we know what he adds to a team no matter what?
Look, we had some quality defensive ends, in Alex and Wale Agunlie. But it was also an upgrade was presented, an elite upgrade. So, and as much as I love those guys, and I know that those guys probably hated having to leave, they understood, they understood the situation, man. You look at the guy like Julius Peppers in his career, shoot, I understand why you guys are doing this, and so it's, and it's one of those things too, defensively, when you hear, a player of that caliber and you're like, man, we're going to add him to our defense. You look at what pieces are already there. You're like, wow, we're going to be a formidable defense next year, so it was exciting for us. It wasn't as exciting, I'm sure, for the defensive ends that moved on, but it was exciting time for the Bears.
Yeah, I always find that interesting, right? Because I think in terms of, a lot of media members will jump on the mic and they'll be like, yeah, you absolutely should move on from that guy. You got to trade that guy. You got to sign that guy to come in. But you don't think about the fact, right? Like, I feel like too often you don't think about that's a person. That's somebody's career that has just changed now. You know what I mean? It's not just, oh, we added Yannick Ngakoue. If we had Yannick Ngakoue, it's somebody probably just lost their job. So right. I always like having you guys here getting into the mind of the players, right? Like having that understanding. That's it's such a responsible way to look at it. I feel like maybe because you held that position the entire time, you look at it that way. Wasn't no linebacker going to come in and take your job.
It's not that they were bringing guys in. They were bringing guys in each year. They drafted a new linebacker, and they drafted guys that shoot, I think, as high as the second round. Yeah. Those guys are supposed to stick, and there were a ton of third round linebackers that were supposed to come in and take my job, and that, but I, it wasn't one of those linebacker rooms where I was going to be a jerk to you or not tell you what and Brian was the same way. We wanted you to learn as much as possible and may the best man win. Yeah. We just knew who the best men were, But that's the mind frame that whoever the defensive end is now, whoever the edge rushers are right now, and anybody that comes in, that's the mind frame you have to have in order to stick, in this league. You have to know that you are the best player out there. You have to show them your worth, and you have to do it on a daily basis because that the success is rented out there, and that rent's due every day.
Yeah, I mean. It's crazy to think, right? Like the confidence that we have in this team improving this season, adding a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, does that make you feel like the Bears are taking that Khalil Mack swing, right? Where in 2018, I don't even know in 2018 we added him. I don't think we thought we were going to be as good as we were, but right in 2018, all of a sudden you go from being, they might be a fringe in the hunt team. Does that take your expectation of what the Bears are supposed to be from, yeah, you should be in the hunt to no, you should be competing to be winning this division all in one season?
It creates more hopeful, me being more hopeful, health and being prepared, the way that you play the game is always going to be most important as far as I'm concerned. But adding a piece like that on paper, it makes me more confident in competing with the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. And with Aaron Rodgers gone, who knows how they're going to be? But history says that any quarterback in Green Bay that waits 4 years to play usually finds success. So that also gives me more confidence to compete against the Green Bay Packers as well.
No, 100%. When is it going to be most important to get him in here? Because at this point, right, we're coming into week 2 of training camp. We're not in pads yet. I believe first day in pads is Wednesday. EO saying first day in pads. When is it going to become, okay, you've got to get this guy in here so that he can learn it? Or is Yannick Ngakoue, if he's the guy we go after, and or Chase Young, if they made a trade for a guy possibly, which I don't think they're going to do at this point, when is that most important time to come? Because we saw a guy like Khalil Mack come in here after everything was already done. And that first game versus the Green Bay Packers is probably one of the most memorable games we've ever seen in his career.
Listen, we traded for Adewale Ogunleye. I believe it was maybe week one, maybe week 2. I think it was week 1 of the football season of that year. And he goes on to get something like 11, 12 sacks that year. Yeah. Okay. He knows what he's doing. You tell defensive linemen where to line up. This is what we do. This is how we do it. I think it's different than, like I say, if we traded for a quarterback or a receiver, or those are there's nuances to that offensive system that you have to learn, and you have to progress in that. There's a progression there. As a defensive lineman, luckily as an edge rusher, it can be very simplified. It's very simplified. So you're rushing from the left, you're rushing from the right, and go get them. You read run, you replace. If you see you read pass and rush the quarterback and go get him. Yeah. Sack fumble.
How do you quantify as, let's say you're GM Lance Briggs here. Lance Briggs, the GM of the Chicago Bears. You just got an upgrade, pay raise, all of that. We got you a nice suite up in the Hilton. Yeah, I mean you're set up. You're good to go.
I'm good, huh?
Okay. You're doing really nice. You can bring the truck as well. You can bring the truck. We have a special parking spot just for you.
All right.
How do you value a defensive lineman who is being graded as a guy who in his career struggled against the run, but is elite against the pass? How do you grade that guy on, we have to go and get that guy because he's going to create pass rush pressure, but I know there's certain times where he's going to be ineffective?
Well, I'm glad that you put me in this GM stance, okay? Because in order to answer that question, I have to know who's in the room with me. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I even get to evaluating that player is I'm going to go out. I'm going to get a guy like an Alex Brown. I'm going to go get a Charles Tillman. You know what I mean? I'm going to even get a Urlacher on the line. I know he's not going to come into the office, but I'll have him on the speed dial. You know what I mean? There's players. There's a Mike Brown I'm going to have in the office, or I'll have him on speed dial. There's a group of guys that I trust that have played this game for a long time in this system, that when we go through an evaluation and I look at this guy who can stuff the run, but not as well or as well versed in the pass rush field. These guys we're all going to talk around, and these are trusted voices because I know that they've been there. I know that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And we'll go back and forth, and then we'll figure out a solution to this problem or this issue, and we'll get it figured out.
Is there a way? What's the way to make his life easier in that situation, right? Because, like, again, Yannick Ngakoue is being talked about in this way, where elite pass rusher. I think he had 10.5 sacks last season. He's been a guy who's been a consistent 9 to 11 sack guy. The music threw me off. I was like, wait, where's that coming from?
Rod Wave.
He's been a guy who's been a consistent 9 to 11 sack guy, but, teams aren't afraid to run the ball while he's on the field. How do you protect that guy kind of in a, I guess, kind of like in an NBA sense, right? Where like Trae Young ain't a good defender, but we got to find a way to protect him.
Well, the first thing that you got to do is you have to, you've got to be sound. You got to look at how many one-on-ones that are being created.
Yeah.
All right. You got to know how many one-on-ones. Now, if he's getting one-on-ones and he's losing those one-on-ones, then we have a problem. If he's getting one-on-ones and he's winning those one-on-ones, then we have to create more one-on-ones for him. That's the number one thing I need to see out of my defensive lineman is if you line up mano a mano cross somebody else, are you going to allow that person that's in front of you to defeat you or not? I need dogs on that line. You know what I mean? And if you ain't a dog, you can't play for me. So that means one-on-ones. Now, hey, listen, they need to double you. They need to double you on that line in order for them to have some success. And if they're doubling you, they're singling somebody else.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bears are going to bring out. This pass rusher situation, it doesn't seem like it's coming to the end that we thought as quickly as we thought. So it'd be nice to see it kind of finish out, see where we're going to land with this, or at least if we're heading into the season with the guys that we got. But we do have at least one guy on the opposite side who has probably the funniest story, but it gets me so excited. Maybe this is the Bears fan meathead in me. Darnell Wright.
Okay.
Came out and trained for his conditioning test.
Yeah.
By preparing for the wide receiver test because he read the wrong thing on the paper, basically. When you hear that about a guy like Darnell Wright, Does that mean anything? Does that excite you at all? Because for me, I'm like, this dude said basically that he was going to do good on the wide receiver conditioning test. And the lineman test was nothing like that. Like, it was way slower, way different, less reps, less distance, all of that. Does that get you excited for this young guy at all anymore? Is it just, hey, listen, it's a conditioning test. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, that's great for the outside looking in. It's a great story, but I mean, regardless of what you do on that test or whatever it is, it's time. We still got to line up. We got to play some football.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, that doesn't, like, it doesn't tickle me, probably as much as most people, I think it's super story, something to talk about, gives you something to talk about. But what I'm more excited about is that the big man is healthy, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do, because to me, he looks like a very durable, long-standing type of player. And at that position, it's so crucial to have a guy that you can depend on for years to come.
Yeah, I'm excited about Darnell Wright, man. When you see him up close, I'm not gonna lie to you, he is a monster of a man. Like, he was walking past, and I was just like, Jesus! Like, the entire offensive line, Ryan Poles has a type. The entire offensive line is just massive. But was there anything?
Poles is a lineman now. He knows he should know how to spot him, how to pick him.
Hey, absolutely, and the funny thing is, right, when I see them go by, like, you see the starting offensive line, and it's like, at first, my first thought was, is Justin going to be able to see over those guys? And then you see Justin go by, and you're like, oh, he's a giant too. Like, he's not small. I'm like,
yeah, he'll be just fine.
Bro, we're all going to be fine as Bears fans coming into this season, because this team is massive, and it does get me a little bit excited. Did you have anything like that when you were a rookie, though, where you came in? Well, you had a ton, right, like that, right? Like, you were preparing for everything. But was there anything? I guess where you were like, I'm prepared for this just in case, even though I don't have to prepare for it.
It was the same. It was the same way, except kind of in reverse. So the defensive linemen that we had Keith Traylor and Ted Washington. These guys were 400-pound defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And they were huge, So, from the defensive standpoint, I'm like, man, I haven't seen defensive linemen this big before. And I've seen some big boys, but you guys take the cake, man. They were huge, man. So I mean, I get it. I'll tell you what it does show, though, is, this offensive line comes in and they start mauling people. It's in the city of Chicago, it's a big setup for commercials and all that good stuff. All the pandering to everything that's going on with them. And having that big offensive line with Justin Fields sitting back, with his legs kicked back up, people are going to eat that up.
What's the Bears car sponsor? Is it Chevy? There's going to be a commercial with all 5 offensive linemen going up against 5 Chevys. You know what I mean? Just pushing them back.
And
it's coming.
And you're welcome for that idea right now. We just put that out there.
We just put that out there. We are killing it on the media side, man. Y'all got to jump on with the sponsorship over here too, because we're killing it on the media side right now. Lance needs a new truck to put bigger tires on. That's all I'm saying.
We're not asking for much. We're not asking for much.
We just
need some new Michelins. New mission, make some Toyos.
Let's keep this thing moving, man. I mean, we've had so much going on football-wise. The best part about this opening up is not just Bears stuff, right? It's the fact that it is just football extravaganza everywhere. Yeah. And my God, do we have fire flying already? Sean Payton versus Aaron Rodgers. Not really. It's kind of versus Nathaniel Hackett. Sean Payton coming out with very, very strong comments about the job that Nathaniel Hackett did with Russell Wilson. I almost messed up. Russell Wilson there. Basically saying it's one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history, which is impressive to say because I feel like we've seen some bad coaching jobs here in Chicago. So one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history that Nathaniel Hackett put together. And Aaron Rodgers came with the Will Smith quote, "Keep my coach's name out your
mouth." Woo!
Lance, do you like the fire early?
I love the fire early. I love it. Listen, I love what Peyton said. I love what Aaron said in response. And if Aaron could reach through the media, through the lines and channels and slap them around, I would have loved that too. It's good for football. Got people. This has people talking. You know, it's a good setup for the game they're gonna play. I love it. It gets the juices flowing.
I mean, I think we pretty much could all outwardly see that Nathaniel Hackett had no control over the situation.
It was bad.
Happening in Denver. It was horrible.
It was
right?
bad. He wasn't ready for it.
I will never forget. What was it? It was Peyton, not Peyton's Place. What's the one that Peyton Manning does where it's him and Eli, and it was Shannon Sharp on there. They turned Shannon Sharp into an old man. Shannon Sharp was like, "Can we get it? We not gonna call timeout? We not calling timeout on it? Skill. Yeah, we not gonna call timeout on this. Yeah. Oh, Lord, now we gonna take the timeout. It's one of the worst coaching jobs we've seen. But the fact that somebody actually spoke up about it is not something that we often see.
Why not?
In these coaching, like, oh, I like. Why not? I like it. I like
right. It. Why? You know what I mean? I don't think it's. You know, it doesn't have to be perceived as, you know, listen, I'm trying to throw this guy under the bus. He threw himself under the bus, you know, as far as that goes. You know, I mean, it was bad. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that he's a bad coach, you know what I mean? But he had a bad tenure, just like Jeremy Daniels was in Denver.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he's a great coach too. You know what I mean? He's offensive coordinator.
He's a great offensive coordinator.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
bad head coach. Bad head coach. You know, and if Nathaniel Hackett was with Aaron Rodgers for the years he was in Green Bay, he's a good kicking coach. He's good. He just not a good head coach. Not right now. You know, so that's just the way it is. Shoot, I played under Mark Trestman. You know, I'm sure he coached Jerry Rice. He was a great receivers coach. Bad head coach. You know, is what it is.
When do you know that as a player? When do you know okay, this guy ain't it? Like, I don't know what's going on. Was it when he had the little Star Wars toys in the office, or was it the back of the room laser pointer?
Are we talking about any coach, or are we talking in particular?
I mean, listen, let's say any coach, but let's also understand we know who we're talking about here. Let's say any coach ever so that we can get the honest answer, but we know.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you're not built to lead men, it's going to show. And if you can't challenge them, you know, if you can't challenge them or gain their respect, then you will lose them. And once you've lost them, you won't get that respect back. And I've seen that not just from head coaches, but I've seen that from assistant coaches too. You know, and I remember when I first got into training camp, my rookie year, you know, I'm coming out of college, you know, and
right.
You know, there's this level of college where, you know, some of the things that you do get threatened. You know, they'll threaten you with your NFL prospect to get you to do some of the things they want you to do. I think it's one of the worst things you could possibly do as a coach. You know, it's a better way to reach your players, but some coaches do that. You know, well, hey, you know, these NFL scouts are coming in. You know, it's like, you know, so you're going to badmouth me because, you know, I'm arguing with you about a grade that you think that I didn't get, but I really got. You know, and I'm really going deep on this one.
I'm loving it. I don't do what you do.
You know, but you know, my rookie year when I was on the squad, you know, I started to hear players, you know, I'm still saying, coach, hey, coach, yes, coach, this and that. And I'm listening, and I'm like, all of you guys call them by their first names, you know, like nobody, I don't really hear people say coach except for all the rookies. All the rookies are the only ones that say coach, and everybody else dress everybody by their first name. And so, you know, I quickly learned, you know, it went from, and even shoot, you could ask my old linebacker coach, Bob Babbage, you know, when I call him coach, he's like, is something wrong? Like, he's like, Lance, why are you calling me coach? You know what I mean? Now you call him a coach. You know, my name is Bob or Bullet, you know? And so it's just one of those deals, man. You start to get older and you understand things have changed. Like you're not in school anymore. You know, you're out here to provide for your families, you know, and doing and playing the sport that you love and doing what you love by doing it.
Yeah, it's that's one thing that I asked Tyler Scott, right? And that he kind of gave a similar answer. I asked him, you know, what's the biggest difference from going to college where you're a part-time student to being an NFL player full-time now? And he was like, man, like it's on you. Like you just got to be a man about it. Like everything is on you. There's 5 weeks off. He was like, I didn't have to do anything for those 5 weeks, but you also have to do things to come into shape during those 5 weeks. And so you have to have the mentality of I'm going to take care of myself and do what I have to do to make this happen. So it's the relationship of like the coach to the player. I can see that being odd because it does feel like college. Even I ain't gonna lie, even Dion, right, where he was like, make sure y'all call me coach. Yeah, I mean, it was like, all right, coach, yeah, it's coach Prime. I don't want no disrespect.
Yeah.
But whenever you see these NFL films, even Pat Mahomes is just like, Andy. It's like you just call Andy by his first name, dog. Like,
yeah, it's different. You know, it's different. You know, and in college, you can't. I mean, in college and the NFL, really, you can't let your problems be bigger than the team. Yeah, you know, you have to be able to handle those. But you have a lot. I think you have a lot of help either way on each level because they have to make sure that their players are taken care of. And the NFL, that is they're the product at every level. So you have to make sure that they're taken care of. So I just think, you know, when you get to the NFL, you know, you have players that make more money than the coaches. You know what I mean? So it's different. You know what I mean? And the amount of respect that you have for your coach goes a long way. You come in with a good coach, you know, you don't just leave a better player, you leave a better man.
How much of an improvement do you think the Denver Broncos will make this season with a guy in Sean Payton who I think when he walks into any room he goes into, you can feel leadership and the respect coming off of him? How much of an improvement do you think that's going to make to that team just going from, I mean, they were awful last year at every turn, and now coming in, we kind of felt like the players were good, but it just didn't show last year because we felt like the coach was so bad.
They'll be coached. I think they'll be coached better. I think they're going to like the culture. I think they're going to really enjoy the culture under Peyton and his staff. They've really. It's going to take time. I think they're going to be coached well. They have a quarterback, so you have a chance. You know, we'll see what they do as far as bringing players in. But they set themselves back with all the trades and trading them away. As a Bear, we've all seen this. How many times we've traded away draft picks and such to get these players, and so you know they're really looking at 4 or 5 years away from having a real legitimate draft, unless they're able to trade a player away and get draft picks back.
You've had some battles with the mind of a Sean Payton, that offensive mind that he can be, that quarterback guru that he can be. What's the one game that really stood out to you that you were like, hey man, this dude is different, dog. Like he is one of the best coaches we've had in the game.
We played in New Orleans. We lost, I want to say at the very end of the game, and we thought we had the game. And of course he had Drew Brees, and we're running cover 2, and you know, a lot of teams won't test us down the middle because we have a 6'4", 6'5" Mike that can run.
Yeah.
This guy threw it down the middle all day long. Like, we're going to throw it. Now, listen, we defended some of them, but he was able to get it in that little tight window a few times, and that was enough to advance the ball down the field, 30 yards.
Yeah.
And it was one of those deals where it was just like, they go up. He likes to go for it on 4th down as well. But it was one of those deals like you gotta have a lot of courage, a lot of guts to make the throw, and it has to be perfect when you elevate it, and those safeties not make a play and our Mike not be able to knock the ball out. So I really applaud him for that. I mean, when you go back and you turn the tape on, you're like, shoot, from the outside looking in, watching the game, you're like, oh, this is where they scored. They got into the red zone and they scored. I'm like, but no, to get there, they had to do this right here. They had to make this play, and they made it. So That's what I remember the most.
That's crazy, man. Like just the fortitude of the lower region to be able to try and just say, "Hey, Drew, you're just gonna attack the middle all day," and knowing that it's Brian and you in there,
and we practice this repeatedly every day. Like we see this stuff. You're gonna try to test us. We know how to break on it. We know how to get there. We know how to close, and we know when that ball is coming. So it takes a lot of guts to try not just once, but over and over and over again.
It did. Listen, it didn't work when they needed it to work most. That's the one thing we do know. but yeah, they didn't go to the Super Bowl there. But I think
that's on Chicago soil in January too. Now,
yeah, well, that's true. That's true. That definitely makes a little bit of a difference. It is when you think back to those games versus Sean Payton. Was there any trash talk? Was there any coach going at you? Because Sean seemed like he got a little fire in him. I've seen Sean yell from the sidelines a couple of times at some guy.
No, listen, I really like Sean. I remember seeing him at a boxing match in Vegas, and it was it might have been when I was thinking about retiring or right after that 2014 season.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, hey, I'm pretty sure my tenure in Chicago's up, man. What you got going on down in New Orleans, man?
Try to give him the head nod. Try to give him. Hey, you got any spots? You wouldn't want to be. You wouldn't have wanted to be with a Rob Ryan down there, man. It's your DC, would you?
It's all about in your back end of football. It's all about who you're playing for. If Lovey doesn't get fired, then for a lot of guys, in Chicago, they would try to squeak out as many years as possible. As many years as you say you can use me, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Obviously change coach and the whole culture changes, and you're like, this is not something that I want to be a part of. But you go to a coach staff like a Sean Payton, you go to Andy in Kansas City. Those are coaches where you're like, shoot, I'll play for you, man. Hey, if you need a guy, I got you. If you're not, I'll walk away. But if you need a guy, I got
you. What was Sean's response?
Oh, I forget. He brushed me off. He brushed me off a little bit.
He gave he friend zoned you, Lance.
Yeah. He brushed me off a little bit.
He said, "You're a great guy. You call the office, and I'll get back to you."
I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that we were joking around about something, and then I changed the topic real quick, on him unexpectedly, and was like, "Hey, I'm a free agent, so if you want to pick me up, you should probably do that this year." And he's like, "Oh,
hey,
you're so funny, Lance."
Never let it be said that Lance Briggs didn't shoot his shot. Shout out to Lance, man. Oh man, let's finish it out on this, Lance, because me and you had the UFO conversation previously while you were driving through the mountainside, and lo and behold, the government says aliens are real. So, right, nothing changed. Like everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we kind of knew that already." I mean, what you want me to do? Have you seen LeBron James?
If you're going to come out and say, all right, aliens exist, give us we need some data. I need some data. All right. I want a scouting report. All right.
You want a scouting report on the aliens?
Scouting report. I want a breakdown. You know what I mean? I want to know what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? So it's one of those deals, right? Listen, I'm a GM now. All right. I'm a GM because you said it. I'm a GM and I need a scouting report so I can make the best evaluated decision.
The best decision available. Well, here's the question, right? In your playing career, was there a player that you played with that you looked at and you said, "Hey man, he might not be from here"?
Julius Peppers.
Really?
Julius Peppers was he's just a specimen, man. He's a specimen, you know what I mean? And I just hadn't you don't see guys that athletic, that size very often. Not at least not where I come from.
Yeah.
He's got the height of a basketball player, but the body of a football player. And could move. Guy could run. He was. We had our pursuit drills, and the rule was DBs couldn't get outrun by linebackers, and linebackers can't get outrun by defensive linemen. But you turn the doggone tape on, and you see Julius running past us. And so, our coach was like, well, we're making an exception. So what we would do in our pursuit drill is, soon as we're supposed to like shuffle, and then run, soon as the ball was snapped, we're turning and running right now. We're like, we're not getting caught. We're not getting caught by Julius,
You had to make sure Julius wasn't passing you on the tape.
No.
You're sitting there, hey, Julius, slow down, man. You making me look bad, dog. Well, shoot, Julius wasn't he a power forward for
North Carolina?
He was a power forward on that team, man. Like,
yep.
Julius wasn't no joke, man. So
hey.
I can absolutely see that. I don't know if I'd have picked him out of all the people you played with.
Which guy would you say?
Want to know what's weird? I probably would have said Peanut for this reason, because he adjusted his game to be better than dudes that were way bigger than him.
Well,
he would adjust how he did so many things. Like him being able to go up against Megatron and really be his best competition is still one of the coolest things to me.
Now, let me explain something to you about Peanut. Okay, the knack that he had to really, nag those big wide receivers, that was learned at a young age, because he was nagging somebody. I know his nickname is Peanut, but he was nagging somebody in his family or friend circle growing up, and he got great at it. Okay, because when we were together all the time, he used to nag me all the time.
Yeah.
I'd sit in my locker, and he would act like he was going to walk by, and he would just attack me. Okay. And he would do this not just to me, he would do this to different players around the locker room. All right. This is a skill that was built over time, like Liam Neeson in Taken. All right. I have a set of skills. Peanut built those skills, and he applied them to receivers.
Yeah. It was so funny, because I heard him telling his story one time. He said he wanted to be that guy that like laid the boom on people. He dropped his shoulder, he dislocated it.
Yeah.
he said, oh, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
And just like the adjustments that he made, like I always was impressed by him. And so for me, it was like, nah, you got to know something too in depth about these players that you're going up against. Like the studying that he had to do on these guys, because you saw them versus other guys who we would call top DBs in the NFL, and they would dominate them. Yeah. And then they would get up against Peanut, and Peanut would be like, nah, bro, that ain't happening.
No. But he's also, he was very sharp. He was very sharp in his technique and understanding, angles and movement and how to defeat those wide receivers, especially the ones that like a Calvin Johnson that's a little bit taller. Peanut has a long reach too. So while he might be 6'1", 6'2" right around that range, that reach is going to be able to compete with the tallest receivers in the game.
Yeah, man, it's I think there's some aliens in the sport out here, dog. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, there's some guys in this league right now that you look at and you just like, that ain't normal. Pat Mahomes might be an alien, bro.
What about? Okay, this is an off name, but have you ever seen the arm length of Tyron Smith from the Cowboys tackle?
Oh yes. Maybe that's not a bad name.
Might be a white knuckle situation. I'm trying to say
that's not a bad name. Listen, he definitely scratches his knees without sitting down.
Come on, I'm trying to tell you. Shoot.
Like it is I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a good one. Kawhi Leonard might be a different sport, but Kawhi Leonard might be an alien. The hand size.
Willie Roaf. I don't know. Willie Roaf was a tackle for the New Orleans Saints and then the Chiefs. He's one of the biggest men. I'm telling you, he was so big that he was in the huddle with the Chiefs and he couldn't turn. He turned Like we said, hey, Willie, he turned like this right here. His whole body went like this.
There was no turn in the neck.
Willie Roaf. No turning of the neck. The whole body rotated. The whole body rotated like this right here. All right. What's the name from the Cowboys that he went to the Niners? He strongest bench press guy.
Strongest bench press. Not Micah.
From the Super Bowl. From the Super Bowls.
Larry Allen?
Larry Allen. Listen.
Oh, if we going just off pure strength, Nick Chubb is for sure an alien. Did you see the squat that he did with the bar bending over his shoulder?
Listen, I don't know if you've heard stories from anybody that's faced Larry Allen, okay? But when I played against Larry Allen, I kid you not, every time that he touched me, I hit the ground. All right. Now there were times where I slid through him in the hole. I got by him. He didn't touch me. I moved faster. But I'm telling you, we played him on Thanksgiving Day in 2004, and every time he touched me, I hit the ground. That's got to be an alien, right?
Hey, bro, listen. He's one of those players whose name you don't hear enough of, but you literally every story I've heard from any player that's talked about Larry Allen is that. It's literally that. Like it's just like you don't like it don't look like he did much to you, but you'll be left.
I just can't imagine if you were his kid and you got punished. You know, it's always got to be like, Larry, easy.
Look at that. Hey, that's a scary human, dog.
Yep.
That is a scary human, dog. Oh, man. Mac got to be on the list then, too. Because we've seen Mac literally lift 300-pound men off their feet.
Yeah.
With one arm.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of aliens in the NFL.
There's a lot of aliens out here.
Listen,
we watching y'all, man.
Listen, there's aliens in basketball too. Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, he's a little different. I said Kawhi for the NBA because Kawhi literally can palm a basketball with his fingers like wrapped around it, like it's a biscuit.
And he's got an alien laugh too.
That laugh, dog. I can't even do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
He said, I can't even see where I can't even see where you are right now.
If that's not an alien, I don't know what he is.
His laugh was like, I got bored halfway through trying to laugh. Hey man, shout out to Kawhi because I know 100% that's the reason why he don't talk to the media because just the way to be. Anytime he talks
right now, we cut him up.
He don't. That's the other thing too. Anytime he talk to the media, we get a little bit something more where we're like, hey man, like that ain't normal. Like people don't do that, bro. Like what is that? That laugh was priceless, dog.
Oh, I love it.
Oh God. Hey man, we got to get up out of here, man. Another episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Lance Briggs, Pat the designer. We're gonna have you guys covered all week with training camp. We got Courtney on tomorrow, McKee Wednesday, Courtney Thursday, Yurko's in the building Friday. Stay tuned with us all week. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review, and remember, Kawhi's watching. Man.